Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. All right guys, today is a requested video and I figure I'd take it one step further and add some more tips and tricks for summertime. So I was asked to do how I like to touch up going from day to night. So I'm gonna do 2 looks, daytime, and then I'm gonna show you how I would touch up and take it to nighttime without taking off my makeup and starting over. And I'm going to show you some of my tips and tricks for summer because it's the middle of summer, it is hot, and sometimes if you're outside all day and you feel like your makeup is melting off, you do want to just go in and take it all off and start over if you actually have somewhere to go to that night. But I'm gonna show you my tips and tricks so that you don't feel like you have to do that. So how to get the best longevity during the day, in the heat and the humidity, how I would apply, and then how we can go and get ready for date night. So if you wanna check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for being here. Friends, let's go ahead and get ready. I want to show you guys one of my favorite tricks that I know from client feedback has been a game changer for a lot of people. And I don't show it very often because I'll be honest, I don't do it because you guys know I like my glow and it does kind of take away the glow. But when I know that I'm gonna be melting outside, if it's forecasted to be 100 plus, and like I'm going to something that I know I need to be wearing makeup, like I don't wanna just put on a ball cap and sunglasses and hide my face like I normally do at a baseball game. But if I actually wanna look presentable and wear makeup, but I know I'm gonna be in the heat, this is what I do. All right, so I primed my eyes and I'm gonna prime my face. So I know what you guys must be thinking. Sarah, you say never to use a primer with this makeup. And that is true. I always recommend my clients try the makeup with no primer. So 3D foundation, there it is, from Seint, does not require a primer. The only time I normally recommend a primer is if you are very oily. And if you don't know, there is an adjustment phase with these creams because you don't lose moisture on your skin throughout the day. It will hold all that moisture in. So it can tend to make you feel a little bit more dewy and tacky when you're first starting to wear the makeup. And that can be compounded if you're starting it for the first time in summer. I'll be honest, that's what I did. I tried it the first time in the summer, and that was back when I actually did have combination skin, and I didn't know these tricks to kind of get through it. And I'll be honest, it was a little much at times. And then I kind of figured out what to do to kind of avoid those things. So know that there's adjustment phase. It does depend on your skin type. The oilier you are, the more it might take for your skin to get used to all that extra moisture. And then I promise your skin is actually gonna love it over time. It will get that adjustment phase is over. A lot of these tips and tricks, you don't have to do them anymore, okay? So the number one thing is I usually just say start with no primer, no setting spray, nothing on your skin beforehand except for your sunscreen. You guys know I'm avid about my sunscreen, okay? So right now, all I'm wearing on my skin is Glow Screen, and I know it's silicone free, so I don't have to worry about any longevity with our cream. So the number one thing you gotta look out for is silicone. Silicone will create our creams to slip and slide all over your face, and it will just kind of wear off over time. So if you're having longevity issues, the number one thing I recommend doing is don't put anything on your skin, wash your face, and put on your creams. If you don't have longevity issues with your makeup on bare skin, then it's something you're putting on your face beforehand. It's got silicone in it. If you're putting your makeup on bare skin and it's not lasting, you have the wrong colors. So it's very simple test. Put your makeup on bare skin, and I promise we can figure it out easy peasy. Normally I say no primer, just put on your sunscreen, put on your makeup, set with a powder, and you will kind of be good to go until your skin adjusts to the creams, and then you don't have to wear powder anymore. You can do whatever you want, whatever's good for your skin. Now, this method is going to be very different. If you are super oily, I've always recommended this matte primer. So the packaging has changed. I will be honest, I don't use this because I don't have oily skin, but I did test it and made sure it worked before I recommended it for you guys. But this Honest Beauty matte primer, it's in a different bottle now, is silicone free. And it is hard to find silicone free products, I'll be honest. I swear they just put them in everything. But try this only where you're oily, and you can use this technique with that as well if you are oily skin. Now for everyone else, if you don't have oily skin, or say your combo, put this in, say, your T-zone if that's where you're oily, and then put this everywhere else. Now I am normal all over, so I'm just gonna use this. This is my favorite moisturizer under the makeup. I will be honest, on a day-to-day, I don't moisturize. I just use my SPF, and that formulation is moisturizing enough for my skin. But if you need to moisturize and use SPF, technically your SPF should always go on last. But this I'm using as a primer step. So primer always goes on last before makeup. And I put that on hours ago, so it is very much absorbed into my skin and still giving me protection, okay? So now I'm gonna use this as a primer, not necessarily as a moisturizer, but you're gonna see why. This is Good Molecules, did I already say that? Silicone-free priming moisturizer. Okay, so it's just like a really nice light moisturizer formula. I am going to put this on my full face. Okay, so very thin layer. Okay, and now I'm gonna let that absorb while I explain the next step. So whatever your primer of choice is, just don't reach for anything that says pore filling, pore blurring. Anything to do with pores is 9 times out of 10 silicone based. Don't reach for the silicone stuff. You will just have longevity issues, I promise you. So stick to silicone free, or this method won't do you any good, to be honest. All right, so as that's kind of absorbed, the next step is I'm going to grab a powder. And I know what you must be thinking, because it's kind of like one of those long-term like makeup rules we've always heard. Don't ever put creams over a powder in your step of application when it comes to applying your makeup, right? Because that's what leads to cakiness. And that can be true if you over apply. But with this method, all we're gonna do is we're gonna put a really, really fine, thin layer of a powder over this to set this primer per se, okay? And what it's gonna do is it's gonna kind of create this barrier so that your oil can't seep through, if that makes sense. And it's also going to give some oil absorption as well if some does get out. So it's not gonna leave you, you're not gonna feel sticky or dewy. You're gonna be less shiny, and your makeup's gonna last longer through that heat and humidity. You're not gonna feel like it's melting off. So the key with this step though is not picking a heavy powder. So please, no matter what you do, don't pick up this. I love Airspun. It's awesome if you can get past the smell, but do not use this for this method. This is way too heavy of a powder. I recommend something very finely milled. So our Vanilla Dust is very fine. My other favorites, and this one is much pricier, but it is a really amazing powder. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish. It's called a micro powder because it's very finely milled. And then I'd say I do like, for a loose powder, this Hourglass Veil Translucent. It is finely milled as well. And I know that because I've tested them all under my eyes, and those 3 don't age me because they're super finely milled. Anything that isn't immediately makes me look older. So I'm gonna go ahead and use our vanilla dust, and I'm going to use the blush end of the blush bronzer, and I'm just gonna kind of tap off excess and like sweep it. So you guys know I don't sweep very often. Oh my gosh, my hair. But I just want to get the thinnest possible layer. And it's really easy to test this because if you can feel tackiness, then you haven't completely covered your skin. So light hand, just enough. And you shouldn't feel like you're super duper matte after, you just shouldn't feel tacky. Okay, I'm testing. I still feel a little tacky on my chin. Okay, and so your skin should feel really soft, not sticky, not tacky, and that's when you know you're good. Now, if you feel like you look drier in any way, you've over applied your powder. So that's why it's just a lot easier if you stick with a very finely milled powder. And that's it. So that is my heat and humidity trick. A silicone-free primer, a little bit of powder to set it, and then we're gonna go in with our creams the exact same way we always do, all right? So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna go ahead and do, okay, so here's kind of my, not dilemma, but here's the way I think about when I don't want my makeup to melt off. You don't want to over apply, right? The more makeup on your face, the more it's going to feel like it's coming off, right? But if you apply too little, it's less product that can wear off and then show your skin. Okay, so you got to find a happy medium. Also, because we know we're going to be touching up later in the day, we don't want to have so much makeup on that we can't touch up easily and add a little more if needed. We don't want to ever look cakey. So we got to find that fine line, okay? So my tip is to always use less product, okay? We don't necessarily want to go for full coverage right now. You might think, okay, I'm going to put on full coverage so that way I don't have to touch up later, but that can lead to it looking cakey later, okay? So right now, we've already done our trick so that we're not going to feel like we're melting off. So now I would say just stick with a light hand. That way you can easily apply more later if you want to without looking cakey. Does that make sense? Okay, so I feel like so many people, when they think light hand and they want to do a quick natural finish, they always think they just need to skip color correction. And in fact, it should be opposite. If you skip that darker shade, it actually means that you're gonna need more of your main shade to get any coverage. And this shade will actually start cracking, breaking up, and coming off during the day, okay? So if anything, you should use more of your color corrector, less of your main shade in order to use less makeup. I hope that makes sense. But sometimes I can literally do mainly all my color corrector, very little main, and that's when I get the best wear time for my creams, all right? So I'm going to do that today. I'm gonna use the blend brush, I'm gonna tap in, and I'm going to buff this on to the darkest points of my face using the smallest amount of product as I can, okay? This is daytime, okay? I am not going for glam. I'm going for quick and easy and natural. Now, one thing to note is I am color correcting first. I'm not contouring first. If you saw the video I did a couple weeks ago and you really compare the before and after, you will see that when I put my contour straight to my face and did not layer, that contour did not last on my skin. It actually wore off by the end of the day. So I don't want to have to reapply my contour if at all possible. In order for my contour to last all day, I have to color correct first. Gives me far better longevity. Okay, so you see I pretty much used it almost everywhere. I'm kind of just pressing it on any darker points because I know my main shade does not color correct. So any of these hyperpigmentation spots, darkness, anything that looks darker, I've got to use my corrector shade or it's not gonna last. Okay, so that's my corrector. You can tell it's bringing me darker than my neck. So I do need to use some of that main shade in order to really stay matching. So I'm gonna use the big end this time, still tapping in, just barely kind of tapping, not swiping. And then I'm just gonna kind of lightly tap to distribute the product. Okay, so this is gonna tone down that corrector, kind of bring me back to matching, and also build up coverage slightly. So I can still get a pretty, I'd say this is gonna be in between natural to medium, which is about my favorite way to wear it. Not heavy, not too light to where I can see every spot coming through. I've got a lot of spots, but still evening out my skin tone, right? Okay, now I'm gonna flip over to the small end again. And then tap over anywhere I need more coverage. Okay, there you go. 2 shades, really quick and easy. Looks a little heavy, but we haven't gotten to the removing excess part, so we're still golden. Then I'm just gonna contour as normal with my normal shade, which is Astoria. Just gonna tap, tap. Press on. Pounce to blend. So I'm not moving any of that underneath, getting a nice blend. Okay, contour, done. Okay, so for daytime, believe it or not, I'm going to skip my brightener. And I don't always, but when I know I'm gonna be applying more makeup later, remember, the brightener is the one that can increase the look of texture, could pull you chalky, can look more cakey than any other shade. So, we aren't even gonna use it because I do wanna use it for nighttime to give that pop. I don't feel like I need it. Once I perfect and finish up my face, you won't even be able to tell I'm missing it. Now, since I'm also saving the nose contour for nighttime, when I'm nose contouring, you gotta use that brightener, but I'm not doing that, so I'm gonna skip it for now and I'll show you the difference it can make for date night. So we're just gonna lightly pounce the perfector all over to remove excess, mainly under the eyes. Okay, to powder or not to powder? That is the question. So for me personally, it doesn't matter even if I didn't brighten. If I don't powder under my eyes specifically, I will get creasing. In fact, if I sit here and I talk too long, I will get creasing under my eyes just because that is where I have the most texture. That is where I have the most areas for that cream to migrate to. And my eyes never stop moving all day, right? So there's no way to really stop that unless you're willing to just go in and tap out creases every, few hours. I would rather set it and forget it, but the key is using so very little powder that by the time I get to tonight, I can apply more in that area if need be without it looking cakey. Because if I was to go in and put something like this under my eyes, well, I can't wear this anyway, it's gonna make me look older. But if I was to then go in and put some brightener there, when I still have a lot of powder left there, it will immediately make me look cakey and older. So the key is less is more, okay? Finely milled only, and just using enough to stop any creasing, but it really will almost dissipate throughout the day, especially when you're outside in heat. That is why eventually you kind of feel more shiny and dewy. That setting powder helps to set it, but it's not really going to be that same concentration by the end of the day, if that makes sense. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna use the powder brush and I'm touching. And I'm not touching with any pressure either. I'm just barely touching. That I know will be just enough that I can just set right there. And I find doing this trick, I don't need to powder anywhere. But I don't have oily skin. So you would have to try that for yourself. See if you still feel too shiny when you get done with your makeup. You can always set, but again, remember, the more powder you put on your face, then if you want to go put more creams on later, the harder it's going to be to kind of build up that coverage without looking cakey, okay? So it's kind of fine line of learning application amounts. Now it's finally time for some fun parts, right? Let's go ahead and finish our face with some blush and some eyes and some lips and illuminator. So when it comes to lip and cheeks, I've done videos on this before, longevity of lip and cheeks. So if you don't know, our lip and cheeks really will kind of die down after you put them on. Like 5 minutes later, you might look back at your cheeks and be like, okay, do I need more blush? It's totally personal preference. How strong you like to wear your brush. When I was looking at the brush, how strong you like to wear your blush. But I would say 9 times out of 10, when somebody's saying something isn't lasting, it's because they're wearing more of a sheer formulation, more of a glossy shade only. And those tend to, for one, they look more sheer. They also will kind of die down and they don't have as much pigment. So it's easy to kind of have that fade during the day, right? So my number one tip is pick a matte. Pick a matte with good pigment of close to the shade that you're wanting to get to, and then put that down first, okay? They have the most pigmentation. So I would say if I wanted to match my shirt, I'd wear Madrid, or I'd pick something in like the Frenchie, or this is Seint IIID family. And I would stick with something like that. So I'm gonna try Seint IIID, okay? I'm gonna just dab in and outside apple on my cheek, and I'm gonna apply that right along that contour line. Okay, and that's gonna give me my base of the color I want, okay? Now I can go ahead and apply my glowy shade, which are my favorite. If you like the mattes, then just apply enough of your matte and you're good to go. You can mix and match or whatever, but I prefer layering a matte and then a glossy instead of mixing the two. I find that you'll get better longevity putting your mattes down first, okay? So now I'm gonna go in with Tropicana to get that glow. It's gonna add even more pigment, so that's why I didn't put that Seint IIID on too heavy. You can always go back and add more after 5 minutes once you've checked it out. Now, if you are a matte girl through and through, you don't want the glossy lip and cheek, or say you love the color, but you can't stand the formulation, the feeling on your cheeks, and you want matte, one of the best ways to get an extra boost of longevity is just like what we do for our face. What would we set creams for more longevity? You can set your creams, okay? So, you guys know I like my glow, but I'm gonna show you for demonstration purposes. This is one of the Tarte, I will be honest, I love these. I'm not a big powder blush girl now because I love the glow so much, I can't get over it. But I wore these back before I even discovered Seint. It's the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blush, and these do work really well to kind of set it. I'm just gonna use a little bit, but you can tell it's the same color family. This is the shade Quirky. I think I got this sent as a freebie when I bought those lippies I love so much. But one of the easiest ways just to use a powder blush over it, it sets it. You're gonna be locked and loaded. And then you can see if you're gonna need, if it dies down. With this method, I find that I usually don't need to apply more blush at all, only if I wanna change up the color on my cheeks when it comes to nighttime. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the 3D foundation with Illuminator. I don't know why lately, guys, I keep forgetting to put it on. I think because I just am like, been so glowy. I've been wearing Sunshine State on my cheeks, and I don't feel like you even need an illuminator when you're wearing that. Hopefully y'all snagged it in June. So let's go ahead and use Rose Gold, my all-time fave. And I'm just gonna swipe in with my perfector and then kind of just tap it on that high point of my cheekbone. Easy peasy. Now, when it comes to lips, I'll be honest, I hate long wearing formulas. I find them drying. They don't ever actually last a full 8-hour day. Like, I can't. So I know I'm gonna reapply my lips. Like, that is a given. I don't need to worry so much about what I'm picking now or how it's gonna last. I know I'm gonna reapply my lips. Maybe it's just me, but I can't stand that feeling on my lips. Y'all know I like me some gloss. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put on the same colors on my lips real quick, line my lips with my contour and be good to go. Actually, I'm just gonna use Tropicana. Shh, don't tell, I'm still really obsessed with these Fit Glow Beauty lip serums. So I'm gonna put my favorite color, which is Beach Glow, over the top. Cause I feel like it was made for this shirt. And these actually look amazing over the top of our colors. And I feel like they last really well too. Okay, I do my brows the same no matter what, and I don't feel like I ever have to touch them up, but I'm gonna go ahead and use Trust and the line brush to fill them in. I just tinted my brows so I feel like I didn't even have to do as much as normal to those bad boys. All right, there you go. Got brows. Now I just gotta do some eyes. And I'm gonna be honest. What do I do 9 times out of 10 on the daily basis? 2 colors. I might cheat and brighten, you guys know me. But my go-to is usually always Bubba or let's see, Bubba, Basic, or Sedona or Oak. I'm gonna go ahead and use Bubba today. And I'm usually pretty generous with Bubba because it's a lighter shade. And I'm just gonna do this windshield wiper. I feel like this is the one shade I can do really fast because it's a touch lighter. I can like throw it on in 2 seconds. Like, look at that. I barely have to blend. Like, it just kind of like, to me, it reminds me of like a bronzer. It would be like a nice bronzer shade on me. Oh, which just reminded me, I didn't put bronzer on. What do you guys think? Bronzer, a daytime necessity. I feel like I'm matching pretty good. I don't know if I need it. Under the eye. Then small end, I cleaned it off. Brightener, this is Drift. Use the excess under the brows. Look how quick that is. I'm gonna use my finger. Can you guys guess the shade I'm gonna use? This is like always a summer go-to. Sorry, not sorry. This is Crush. I'm obsessed with this shade. It's so easy. I'm just gonna use my finger. Tap it on the lid. Blend any harsh lines. And that is my daytime look. And if you want to use liner, you totally can. I tend to not even line in the daytime. I just use a little bit of mascara on the lower lashes. And there you go. Okay, so it's my daytime look. Natural, glowy. I still got my glow going on, even though I use that powder trick. So, okay, I will be back in hours and we will take this up to nighttime. Hey friends. All right guys, I'm back. I threw like 2-second waves in my hair, you know, to jazz it up because my hair was a little flat. Of course, my texture spray and my makeup is holding up pretty darn well. I feel like I might have a little bit of issues, but I am not really shiny at all. Now, granted, I am not an oily girl. And we used this trick, remember? So a couple of options depending on your skin type, big difference. And how you can kind of go into touching up or adding a little bit more drama. Usually if I'm actually going to touch up my makeup for a date night, it's a special occasion. So I usually want to wear a little bit more contour and blush, lips, eyes, all those things. So I'm gonna kind of show you how we do that without creating any cakiness. That is the last thing we want. Okay, so first things first, here are a few tips and tricks if you have oily skin, or if you want to just make sure you don't have any remaining powder, oils, all that jazz. Because if you guys remember, even when it comes to like eyeshadow primer, if you have any oils on your lids before you're doing your eyeshadow, this isn't going to do its job. It's kind of like the same thing. If you're going to have a bunch of oil and then you're trying to put makeup on over it, or if you have a bunch of powder, like I said earlier, it can create cakiness. So we want to avoid that. One of the things I like to do is always just keep a clean, dry perfector. This is one of the older ones, but I keep one of these in my car at all times. And if I'm starting to feel a little too shiny or dewy, I just dab it and it will absorb that excess oil, okay? If you don't have a perfector, fear not. Good old paper towels work just as fine, just as well. In fact, like McDonald's or any fast food restaurant, their really thin paper napkins work awesome. Obviously, you can have blotting papers, that kind of thing, but nothing works as good as a good old paper towel. Okay, and you can see I'm not taking off makeup. I'm just making sure I don't have any oil. You might get a little bit, but it's not bad at all. Okay, so let's make sure we don't have any. I feel like this also helps kind of get rid of any excess powder. Okay, make sure we have no creasing there. Sometimes we can even crease a little bit through the day, even if we set. So another option, I've shared this before, is this Volcanic Ash Roller, I think is what it was called, by Revlon. This thing is like, got this cool, like, supposed to be like a volcanic stone or something, right? It's supposed to absorb oil. So you can use this and then you just rinse it off and you can reuse it. So this is something I like to even keep in my car. Whatever works for you. That's a good way to kind of remove that excess oil too. If you've been following me over on Instagram, you know I shared this bad boy and I'm still very impressed with it. So this is the Mallee Color Poreless Face Defender. Now, you heard the word poreless, so what does that mean? It's silicone, and this is 100% silicone. Every ingredient in this is silicone, literally just straight silicone. Okay, so don't ever use this under your makeup, but if you feel like your makeup is golden, like you don't even need to apply anything, you just maybe are feeling like some of the areas are a little too shiny and you want to bring down that shine or pores that are visible, use a little bit of this. Just tap on and then tap this on. Now, don't put this on if you're going to be applying any highlights, any creams of any kind. They won't stick, okay? They won't stick to that. It's pure silicone. But that could be a good just step if like that's all you're going to do is touch up your eye makeup and put a little bit of that on. That's a great option. I am going to cover a few blemishes because you guys know, like those seem to be the first thing that pops back up, right? As you're, I know me personally, I break out where my sunglasses sit. Always, always, always. I always have breakouts right here. You would think that means I need to just go clean my sunglasses. They're probably got bacteria on them or something. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my multitasker and my color corrector, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit those blemishes first. Now, I feel like the ends of our noses also are just an area that tends to wear off the quickest. Sometimes I just will kind of just make sure I take off the excess, and then I just, maybe it's because I'm touching my nose and I look like Rudolph because I touched my skin and it turns red, but I'm just gonna go ahead and buff on a little bit more right where it's worn off. One of the reasons why I don't like to wear eyeliner during the day if I'm gonna be going out later is a lot of times I'll feel like it's like kind of smudgy through here or collected in my inner corner. I didn't put any eyeliner on, so really I'm good down there. And I don't have to worry about cleaning up, but sometimes just using a makeup wipe or a Q-tip in a little micellar water, you can just easily clean up along the lash line. That way you don't have to completely take off your eye makeup, but you can easily just kind of clean it up and then you can reapply. Okay, since it's date night, I'm gonna apply a little of my lip plumper, just a little. I actually put our lip conditioner on first so it wouldn't make my lips too red. If you've seen what it looks like after I apply this, you'll know why. Okay, let that do its job. And I really don't feel like I need to apply highlight very many places, but where my sunglasses made it wear off. So I kind of color corrected. My nose has died down now. I'm good. I'm just gonna go in with my main shade and that small end of the blend brush again. And then I'm just gonna kind of tap on right there for a little bit extra coverage where my hyperpigmentation was starting to kind of peak. If you feel like your dark circles are starting to peek through, you can dab a little bit more right there. I sometimes will put a little bit right there to kind of clean up. Truly, it comes down to how much of a face toucher are you during the day. A lot of people, they're really wearing off through here because they've touched their face, their chin, their jawline during the day. That's completely normal. The more you touch your face, the more makeup naturally is going to wear off. It's just the nature of makeup. But you can easily just kind of touch up spots. I feel like I need color corrector right there where it kind of worn off. So you're not having to apply highlight everywhere. I would say I'm not necessarily gonna do this if I'm just gonna go grab a bite to eat, but this is if I'm like wanna look good for a special occasion. I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail when it comes to touching up. I'm gonna actually look and apply more where I need it. But it depends on your preference, how much you wanna apply. Or if you just want to powder, add more eyes and go. All right, I feel like my highlight looks good now. I didn't apply much at all, but I'm gonna go ahead and warm up the face a little with some bronzer. I didn't apply much earlier. Actually, I didn't apply any bronzer earlier, so I'm gonna go ahead and go into my Glow, Bella, and just a touch. So mainly Glow and Bella, touch of Heat Waves. And I feel like this is gonna allow me to not have to really apply any more contour. unless I want to. It's gonna add that warmth and dimension. Can you tell the difference? It's amazing what a little bronzer can do. Now, if you want to add more contour, this is what I usually do to really make my contour pop at night. So I normally wear Astoria day to day, every day. That is what I have on. My contour did not budge because I layered and I really made sure I color corrected first. It didn't move. Our contours should have the best longevity because of their dry formulation. They shouldn't move, okay? Now, I'm gonna just kind of barely wiggle the corner of my brush into Astoria. No, sorry, that's Astoria. This is Indigo. It's one darker and it's warmer, and it's gonna kind of make my contour pop if I just hug that cheekbone and put it right in the deepest part of where my contour would be. So right where the darkest part would be of the natural shadow, right? So I'm just gonna kind of apply a little bit and it's gonna blend out really easily. Okay, it's gonna add more depth, more dimension, and it's gonna really snatch out your contour. If you want a more defined contour for date night, this is one of my best tricks. Okay, so just the key with this is careful placement. So really hug that deepest, most natural part of the actual hollow, let's say that, actual hollow of your cheekbone. If you feel like you need to add more for your forehead, you can. Indigo always gives me very much a bronzy look because of its undertones. So it always adds even more warmth to my face. Okay, now when it comes to my nose, which I never contoured before, I never use Indigo. So if you compare the two, this is Indigo. Let's see if I can get a good swatch. Okay. This is Astoria. Okay. Sometimes it's so hard to tell on camera the difference. But trust me, Indigo is much warmer and Astoria is much cooler. Okay, so if I use a warm contour on my nose, and my nose is normally red, which it is, and most people's have a little bit of redness to it, it will pull even more red, okay? So I have color corrected and all of that, but it will still pull my nose red. I don't want that. I want to make sure I have the most natural looking contour. So I'm gonna grab an old smudge brush because my favorite brush for nose contouring, if I really wanna make sure I contour out my nose well, I use this brush, and I use this straight line to draw my stripes. Close to each other without touching as possible. I'm gonna put the excess under that bottom lip. To make that pop. Okay, now, key with nose contouring, what did I say earlier? It's that accent brightener. So now I'm gonna bring in my brightener. I'm gonna use the other end, the more dome end, and I'm just barely gonna touch my brightener and attempt to make a straight line. right in between those stripes. Do you see that? And you can pick up more, kind of fan it in between the two. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and go back in with my blend brush, and I'm going to apply some of that brightener right here on the side of my nose. So I went ahead and color corrected, used my main shade. Otherwise, if I would have went straight in with my brightener there on an area that had worn off, it will only show texture and give me very little coverage. And that area where my sunglasses were sitting would look much worse, okay? But I wanted to be able to nose contour. So I have to be able to put that brightener on the side of my nose in order to get that contour to pop. Now I can kind of go in right there on that corner of my eye and brighten and give me that pop. Do you see that difference? Okay, center of the chin, center of the forehead. If your jawline is looking any dark or any lighter, darker than your neck, then you can even apply some down there, but I'm good there because I bronzed my neck. Bronzer down the neck always works as well. But we're gonna go back to this perfector and we're just gonna barely tap to remove that excess. Now you don't want to use your perfector so much that it takes away everything you just put down. So sometimes I like to use my fingers, kind of tap that out, make the line look less apparent, and then anywhere you put that brightener, make sure you perfect again. And then if your contour is a little too harsh with your defined line, you can always go back and pounce. Anywhere you feel like it looks heavy again, go in with this bad boy. So after we've perfected, once again, we're gonna set all that in place. Now's the time if you are into a more matte, full coverage look, you can totally use your loose powder, whatever that might be. I've been testing this and I'll be honest, I'm not as impressed as I thought I would be, but I'll show you guys. This is the Givenchy. I don't know how to pronounce anything French. I took Spanish in high school and college, so I apologize. It's all in French. All in French. Don't even know what color this is. 4, maybe? It's the one in this color family, if that helps. This is the Prisma Libre, that word, okay? And it's supposed to be very brightening. This one's for medium skin tones. So here's my thoughts. If you tap into, so you get all 4 colors. See them? Supposedly you're supposed to use a little powder proof like this. Work it in the back of your hand into the poof. Okay, then set. I feel like it takes away a lot of brightness, right? Here, let's do my normal vanilla dust on the other side. So tap. Can you guys tell the difference? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but for a very expensive powder, I'm not that impressed. So Anyway, you guys know me, I'm always testing stuff. It doesn't always work. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of all of that shine, and let's move on to blush. I'll be honest, you guys know me, I like a very natural, subtle blush. I would leave this. I feel like it did not really budge much during the day, but here's my caveat to that. If you like to kind of step it up and make it more dramatic for nighttime, that's a different story. If you want to change up the color, then you can add a little bit more. It's just not gonna take as much because you already have a nice base of color. So I thought it'd be fun to maybe try Venice, but that is a bold color. I already have a good base of a lot of color down, so I'm just going to barely tap, and then I'm going to kind of tap on the back of my hand, make sure I don't have too much. And then I'm gonna go in with it. Can you tell? It's so pretty though. Look at that color, it's so pretty. Just stepping it up a notch. And because I can't help myself, I'm gonna tap into a little La Cienega to add more glow because it's my fave. So pretty. Okay, make sure it didn't get too close. Perfect. Now, Illuminator. I feel like I can still see the Illuminator. It still looks very natural, but for nighttime, what do you guys normally do? Do you normally just stick with the natural, or do you go for that pop of like a wet looking highlight? If it's a special occasion, I go all out. So Georgia is one of our powders. So if you don't know, our powders are much more blinding. They're not natural. They're much more intense. Okay, so if you like that wet looking, like this, I feel like is beautiful, nice, glowing, but be a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Mindful that these are very pigmented, very powerful. So what I do is I tend to kind of barely swipe, tap off excess, and then I make sure I only hit, oh gosh, see, I barely touched my face, and I feel like it's, oh my gosh, like that's enough for both sides of my face for sure. Okay, and then I'm going to blend because I can't do, can you see how bling blinging that is? It kind of is increasing texture on me, so there you go. Kind of tapped it out a little bit so it's not quite so strong, but just be a little hesitant, not hesitant, mindful. Granted, this was not a clean brush. That might have been my mistake. I think it like probably picked up, I used this earlier, it might have picked up too much. Anyway, they are very blinding, but they're really beautiful if you want that pop. Okay, so let's go ahead and add to the lips real quick. Now, I'm planning on going a little bit more dramatic on my eyes, so I don't need a bold lip. If I do too bold, it's gonna compete with my lip color, or I can't talk today, my eyes. So I'm just gonna lightly line. And stick with a really nice neutral. This is Boardwalk. Still in the same color family. But it's still gonna give me a really pretty nude lip. All right, let's step it up a notch. Actually, I'm gonna set my face real quick. So if you, like I said earlier, now is the time you can go ahead and press this on anywhere that might be your pores are accentuated, or a powder. You don't need this and a powder. It's, in my opinion, this does the exact same thing so far as I've been testing it. It even sets really well. So I like a dewy look. I'm gonna finish off with the setting spray. Our setting spray is a more forceful mist, so just prepare yourself, hold your breath, and spray generously, let it dry. Now we can go ahead and go to eyes. Okay, eyes are also an area that can easily need a lot more touching up, depending on if you really primed your eyes, set them well, and if you're having creasing. So I'm good right now. I don't have any creasing, but if you feel like you do have some, kind of, you know, smooth that area out. Make sure you don't have too much excess product there. Okay, sometimes it's just a simple blending with your fingers can go a long way. My brows are still golden, don't need to touch them. If you need to add a few hair strokes, if you have any bald areas, you can easily do that. Now let's take a 2 shaded look tonight. Rule of thumb for eyes, I've already carved out my crease, okay? So I always look and make sure I still have enough of that crease color. And we used Bubba, okay? So I feel like I'm still good. I can still see the color. It is subtle. So the first thing is you gotta decide, do you want more of a pop up here, or do you wanna create more drama down here? What kind of look are you going for? We also still have a nice pop of shimmer on the lid. Is that dramatic enough? Did you pick up a really, you know, subtle daytime color? If so, you can put something, literally add to it to create more drama. Okay, so first things first, I am going to create a little bit more drama and definition by just picking 2 shades, and then we're gonna see if that's enough. First things first, this is one of my favorite shades. Don't be afraid of it. It's so pretty. So we used Crush earlier, you can tell. It's very subtle, kind of just a nice peachy shade on the lid. This color is one of my go-tos for drama in the exact same way. I'm just gonna use it on my finger, touch it right to the center, okay? So technically I still have some Crush right there in that inner portion. Okay, so it's gonna kind of ombre in, and it looks really beautiful next to Crush. Okay, I'm going to touch right on the ball of the eye. It gives a really nice pop of kind of like, I never know how to describe it. It's very coppery, but more on the less red, more orangey side. Okay, now I'm going to blend. Now, if you don't feel like it's blending well with Crush, you can easily just pick up a little bit more Crush, add to it. But I find that they kind of just blend right into each other. Now I'm gonna grab, this is Coco, and I'm gonna grab the smudge brush, the dome end, same end I used for my nose. Different brush though. This one's covered in eyeshadow, and I'm just going to tap in, and then I'm gonna go to that outside corner, and now I'm gonna add some drama and depth. Okay, I'm gonna go right into the actual crease. You see how much depth that added with just a few taps, okay? Flip it to the other side, blend. Now here is where I kind of assess usually, and I'm like, okay, is this giving me a good blend? And because remember what we talked about last week with mature eyes, okay, the darker we go with shades, the harder it is to blend sometimes. Now, We do have some of that Bubba still in the crease, which is why it actually did blend really well. But you can always go back into Bubba and blend out the outer edge. Or if you wanted more of a pop, you could go with an even different color, or like, I mean, if I was gonna go crazy, I'd probably just keep picking up these beautiful orange tones and like grab Havana and put her right up high. Add some more color. Okay. Or you guys know me, I would probably pick Sedona even to help blend that out. It really didn't take much at all. It's a pretty combination. Okay, now my inner corner color always tends to wear off because that seems to be the area of my eyes that I tend to touch the most. So that I'm going to reapply exactly the same way. I still have plenty under my brows, so I'm not gonna touch that. But you could always even use that Illuminator you just put and use that as your highlight shade as well. Okay, if your under eyes you had to touch up or use micellar water to clean up, you can add a little bit more of that halo. I'm gonna add a little bit of that Coco with the multitasker to the outer corner. Okay, now usually when I go this bold and dramatic, my lashes get lost. And I even have some bolder lashes on today, and it doesn't look too bad, but I always tend to pick up my eyeliner and apply some depth to my lash line for nighttime. One of the easiest ways to go from day to night is to add just eyeliner, no eyeliner in the day, and then add eyeliner for night. So Black Friday, just gonna kind of tap in and do a really soft line. And as always, I like to set it with Kohl eyeshadow. If you want it even more subtle, less dark, you could use that same Coco that you put in the outside corner and use that as well. If you want more depth, go with something a little bit cooler or darker, like Kohl or Salem. Okay, friends, there you go. A little bit more mascara, and we've taken it from day to night. No cakiness, no excess texture. It's all in making sure you have kind of not over applied earlier and removing any excess oils, kind of taking care of your canvas. That way you can apply as little as possible, having to wash your face and start over again, kind of just dressing up the eyes a little bit. My favorite thing is to just take 2 shades and then add 2 more. Actually, technically, I had 3 before, so I added 2 new ones, a little bit more of a contrast of that lid shade and that deep dark number 5 shade to kind of add some depth and drama. And look at that, it took it up a notch greatly. And then you can add as little or as much as you want to complete the look. I hope that was helpful in kind of learning some tips and tricks on beating that summer heat and humidity, touching up before a night out, which really you can use that anytime during the year. And it's even easier in the winter, right? When oil is not as much of an issue for some people. It can depend on your skin type. So I hope that was helpful. If you are needing help with your 3-day foundation or eyeshadows from Seint, I can help you out. My color match request is in the drop box in the link below the video. Just fill that out. Let me know how you like to wear your makeup, and I will send you your own customized match with all of your options. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Love you.